Memories are oftentimes divided into either how long they're stored or what types of memories are being stored. When it comes to how long they're stored, we could talk about sensory register. Sensory register is very short-term memory. Like you pass by a tree and briefly it makes an impression on your visual cortex, and then you just go on in your car, and probably you'll never be able to pull that memory up again later unless you pass by that tree again and again and again, and pretty soon the surroundings begin to look familiar. All right, sensory register is the shortest. Short-term memory comes next, and that lasts for several minutes. This person named Miller said that the average person can only hold about 7 new pieces of information in their short-term memory at a time. So if a person lists off a bunch of numbers, most people can only remember about 7. Some books say even maybe only about 5. Or if a person lists off a bunch of items for you to grab at the store for them, you know, that's about how many most people can remember, unless you use some memory strategy to help you remember more things. And there are very many memory strategies that are really useful, and they're talked about in your book, by the way. Okay, then comes long-term memory, and long-term memory literally can last a lifetime. Most people can remember events all the way back to 3 years old. Most people cannot remember events before 3, but starting at 3, most people, even when they're old, can remember events from preschool age. All right, so that's long-term memory. Then memories are also divided into what type of memory is being stored. Semantic memory is facts and figures, names and dates, and that sort of thing. If anybody's going to have memory problems, a lot of times it's that. You hear people say that sort of thing. Oh, I have so much trouble remembering names and that sort of thing. Excuse me. Another type of memory is procedural memory. How to ride a bike, how to make a cup of coffee, you know, that sort of thing. Most people don't have trouble with procedural memory. Even if they're at the beginning stages of something like Alzheimer's, oftentimes they don't have problems with procedural memory. All right, and then finally comes autobiographical memory. And autobiographical memories are memories about our life, events from our life that seem very clear to us. Memories that are especially poignant are called flashbulb memories. And those memories seem to come with amazing clarity. Now, they may not always be accurate, but we remember these events very, very well, and always think back upon those events. And it could be happy occasions, like a wedding, or it could be something awful that we remember, like what happened, you know, on 7/11. You know, what happened on that September 11th when you know, New York and the whole thing happened. And most of us remember exactly where we were on the terrible events of that day, during the terrible events of that day. Okay, so anyway, that is autobiographical memory. Next, we could look at forgetting, and there are lots of different theories on why people forget. One of the things they have noticed that if you try to learn something new, especially something like a list of words or whatever, memory tends to fade really, really fast. Within the first 20 minutes, you've forgotten 60% or so, and within an hour, you've forgotten like 70%. But whatever you manage to hold on to for a day, whatever you've done, somehow you've gotten that into your long-term memory. You come back a day later, you still remember almost as much as you did 24 hours earlier. You come back a month later, you still remember almost as much. So memory fades really fast. Whatever you do hang on to for a day and come back and test yourself a day later, now you own that information. Whatever mental strategies you've used, whether you're rehearsing it or giving it meaning or whatever you've done, you've managed to hang on to that information. Okay, there are other ideas about forgetting also. One of the ideas about forgetting is that sometimes memories interfere with our ability to remember other things. Let's say you take a Spanish class in the fall and you enjoy it very much. So in the spring you take a class in Italian because you think, well, that was fun, I'll try another foreign language class. And then in the summer, you have a chance to go to traveling to Madrid or maybe to Mexico. And when you're walking around the streets trying to talk to the locals, trying to order in the restaurants and whatnot, what's happening? You're trying to remember Spanish, but all that keeps popping in your head is Italian because those languages are so similar that one actively interferes with your ability to remember the other one. So interference is involved with forgetting as well. And then also, there are other things we could look at, such as Freud talks about repression. And that is, he thinks that if a memory is too painful or shameful, we'll just shove it below the level of consciousness so that we're unable to think about it. They say that many people who are sexually assaulted in childhood will have difficulty remembering those things when they grow up because they very effectively repressed those memories away, locked them away in their unconscious mind. All right, many theorists, including Penfield, say that once a memory is in our brain, it never fades away, it never decays. Actually, he poked around in people's brains with electrodes and they had instant, vivid recall of their distant past, which tells us that memories probably are in there somewhere. We may just have trouble getting to them. Amnesia is the last thing I want to mention. There's two kinds of amnesia, and they could be caused from physical reasons like a bump on the head, or they could be caused from other physical reasons like toxins in the environment, or they could be caused from psychological reasons. First, let me mention retrograde amnesia. Retrograde amnesia is where you're unable to remember things from the past. It could be just a little bit, or it could be a whole wipe. What I think is even more interesting, though, is anterograde amnesia. With anterograde amnesia, your past memories are perfectly intact, family, vacations, whatever, music, movies, but from the point of injury on, and the injury could be due to surgery, an injury there, could be due to toxins in the environment, could even be due to long-term alcoholism and the fact that you're not eating proper B vitamins and whatnot in your diet. But from the point of injury on, you're unable to learn anything new. So you can tell everybody about your past, but you can't tell people about who was on the phone 5 minutes ago or what did you have for lunch today. And so from the point of injury on, they're unable to remember anything new. So I think that's a really sad disorder, but also a really interesting disorder. All right, that's all for this chapter. Refer to your study guide for extra words.